Just how much of our experience can be judged by another? Is there any truth within the judgment of other people? In life, we interact with others as we are social beings within a material world. And we try our best through moral empathies and sympathies in order to understand people on a deeper level and build connection. But to what extent is this common bond or commonality within our existence posited in real absolute truth? The constructs of our world limit our perceptions, as in some reality we would know how genuine our connections are without any allusion to, human nature or the way people behave socially. We would know that they are grounded in fact rather than in ambiguity, as life is full of uncertainty. Moreover, we are subjects to our own change as well as change from our external environment. I think that the self is what beckons change often, even if it's unconscious. It's your realization of your flaws and imperfections that beckon you to change without your knowledge. And since we are subject to our own change, it is difficult to alter our own perception. More so, it's difficult to alter your perspective when the thing you're referencing is impacted by perspective. As we grow, we shift, and it's almost extremely difficult to notice any change within ourselves without reference from another person or another thing that shows us that we've grown. It's as if we're only shown that we're growing through external stimulus and external interaction. We can only see the impacts on ourselves within the things that we are able to impact. Just as the tongue is a double-edged sword, so is the perception of the world. Like saying that what you put out is what you get is ultimately true. As a man who is willingly blind will have no excuse when he runs into a wall. The more you cloud your own judgments and your own perceptions of the world and be negligent of some of the realer aspects of what is this reality, you lose the ability to, not necessarily be surprised, but be justified in some of your errors. It's like you're being told that things work a certain way and you're intentionally going against it. The undoing of your current understanding is often the undoing of the bias that's within your mind. And the world we live in is constantly projecting its own biases and societal implications upon our minds and allowing us to act in a way that's befitting of the society rather than befitting of ourselves. In terms of the validity of others' perceptions of ourselves, I'm still not too certain. On one hand, everyone is in their own world constructed by their own experience, but the main difficulty we have in life is the perception of ourselves. And if we can't truly perceive ourselves, how are we able to be perceived by others? If the person we think we are can change without our conscious knowledge, that means we can't always listen to what our mind tells us about the state of things and the state of ourselves and even other people. It's not as if we can't listen to the helpful and analytical side of our mind. We just can't listen to the mutterings and sinister side of it. Those negative implications brought about by your own issues rather than things grounded in reality. We are victims to the influence of the mind. This can be severe and detrimental, even for those aspiring to do anything, for he who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't are both right. We only are as we think ourselves to be. So should we care about the perspective of others? I think this certain kind of care should be a care in moderation. Some people you are truly able to trust with their perception because you know that they have your best interest at heart. Sometimes perception can be a wonderful thing. Like someone could tell you you're doing something that's not necessarily beneficial to them or others around you. And that doesn't necessarily have to be an attack at who you are, but how you interact. And I think that we too often associate ourselves with our reactions and interactions to the point where if someone talks about something we do, we automatically assume it's fundamental to our being rather than thinking of it as something tangible, something that's able to change. While there are others who are just the result of some type of negative circumstance that they've allowed or maybe unconsciously allowed to propagate through their interaction with you. some people don't have your best interests at heart when it comes to how they perceive you. Whether they're driven by envy, jealousness, you know, their own insecurities, they might view you in a light that's unbefitting of even you. They project their problems with you onto you rather than going within and analyzing why, in fact, they have this issue. Not everyone has your best interests at heart. That's why I think the main thing we should focus on, the self, should be not assisted by any props. Like, that is to say that who we are as people should not be defined or even dependent on the existence of other selves. We are as we are, and we need to accept that we are as we are without other people as well. And that's why I think people should really establish who they are as a person to the best degree, because no one can truly understand who they are completely, because he who thinks the journey is over is the one that's truly lost. But to the extent that you can understand yourself, I think that you should. Even if you have to create your own delusional definition of yourself. That's better than having yourself be tangible and susceptible to the negativity and bias of other people. If you're not living in your own world, then you're going to end up being the victim of somebody else's perception. We have to be the listeners to our own music. For those who were seen dancing were said to be insane by those who could not hear the music. And that is to say that we all are living in our own reality almost. And the more we try to appropriate with somebody else's, the more we're going to feel like victims to it. The more we adopt someone else's perception of the world around us, the more it's going to seem unfit for ourselves. Because the path of yourself should be almost unwritten. If you can see the path ahead of you, then it's the path of another person.